Today we're going to start from scratch in Photoshop and create our own planet. The only thing we need to do this is this planet texture, which you can download from Jupyter Grade. Once you've downloaded it, go ahead and open it up by doing File, Open, and find the file where you downloaded it to. Then create a new file by going File, New. Take a minute and look at my settings. Give it a name. And we'll keep the background as black. Grab the Marquee Select tool, the Ellipse Marquee Select tool. It's nested with the other Marquee tools, so if you see the rectangular tool, just go ahead and hold the mouse button down and choose the elliptical Marquee tool. Come to about the center of the screen, and I'm going to hold down Shift and Alt while I click and drag. That's going to allow me to start from the center and come outward while creating a perfect circle. And I'm going to let go of the mouse button first. And we're going to keep this selection selected almost throughout the entire process. It's really important that you don't go up and deselect it. Do not deselect this. Grab the brush tool. At the top of the screen, change the mode from normal to linear dodge. Change the opacity from 100% down to about 30%. And then find the actual brush we want to use. If you click here, there's a good chance you might see the explosion brushes or some other brushes that we've been using for a different project. Simply click the gear and choose Reset Brushes and select OK. That'll bring us back to our base set of brushes. Grab one of these fuzzy brushes right here. Now you need to choose a color. It really is up to you, the base color of your planet. If you wanted to follow along and do the exact same one that I'm doing, you can come down here and put in this code. This is called a hexadecimal code. Every different hue has its own code. But like I said, choose a color that you like. I'm going to use the bracket keys to bring my brush down a little bit, and I'm going to start actually brushing this color onto the planet. And I'm going to do it a couple times to make it a little bit brighter. Since I have this selection, I can only paint inside the selection. It makes it very easy. Next, switch tabs over to the texture. Go to Edit and choose Define Pattern. And give it a name, something like Planet Texture. Come back to your actual document. Get the brush tool selected again if it's different, and click the brush menu here. We're going to uncheck the thing that says Shape Dynamics. We're going to check the box that says Texture, and then we're going to click to make sure we actually have texture selected here. Now we need to come up to the top here and actually find the planet texture. I have two of them because I've done it twice now. So actually choose that. Turn off Texture Each Tip. The mode should be Color Burn. And everything else should be pretty much the same. Now we're going to paint again. And we're just going to sort of create an interesting looking pattern. And each time that we overlap with a previous mark, it makes it a little bit lighter. There's not really any rhyme or reason to what I'm doing here. I'm just sort of adding a little bit of difference into the scene. Then I'm going to come back to my brushes menu, go to the gear, and I'm going to come back to my explosion brushes. And I'm going to use these to add a little bit of depth as well. And once I like the way it looks, I'm going to go up to Filter, Distort, and go to Spherize. I'm going to change the amount to 100%, press OK. I'm going to go Filter, Distort, Spherize, and the second time I'm going to knock it down to about 50%. and it just sort of takes my pattern and, as you would expect, sort of makes it more spherical. Since I still have my planet selected, I'm going to go up to Edit and choose Cut. I'm going to do Edit and Paste. Now I have a layer that just has the planet on it. I'm going to go ahead and delete my background layer. I'll make a new layer, which I'm going to drop underneath the planet layer. I'll grab my paint bucket. And if I click this little button right here that has the black and the white, it'll set my colors to black and white, and I'll just make that layer all black. Next, I'm going to make a copy of this layer by selecting it and pressing Ctrl-J on a PC or Command-J on a Mac. Then I'm going to double-click on the little thumbnail to bring up my blending options. I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to linear dodge. And I'm going to take the fill opacity down here under advanced blending from 100% down to 0. Next, I'm going to be adding an outer glow and an inner glow, and those are going to be the atmosphere of the planet. If you don't see one of those, or either of them, come down to the effects button and you can find them down here. I'm going to check the box for outer glow and then actually click outer glow to bring up its options. I've changed blend mode to linear dodge, opacity is at 100%, and I have a bluish color for the atmosphere. Don't have to be exact here, it really is sort of up to you. The spread I'm going to turn down to 0, and I'm going to keep the size somewhere around 50 to 60. It's really up to you. Next, I'm going to click on Inner Glow and click to bring its options up. Once again, I'm going to change to linear dodge. I'm going to bring the opacity somewhere around 70%. I'm going to get a semi-darker color for the inner glow, still sort of in the blue spectrum, and press OK. Now, these sliders you can sort of play with on your own to change the way the glow is actually going to work. Find the way you like, and press OK. Now we have sort of an atmosphere that sort of goes out into space and sort of folds in on itself as well. Create a brand new layer and get both this new layer and the layer beneath it selected by holding down Control or Command and clicking them both. Then right click and select Link Layers, right click once more and say Merge Layers. And now what I've got is I actually have a layer that just has this atmosphere on it. The good thing about this is now I can actually take the opacity down a little bit because the atmosphere seems a little too strong in my opinion, but that's your call. Next, I'm going to grab the eraser tool. I'm going to get sort of a standard brush by going to the gear and selecting Reset Brushes, getting one of these fuzzy brushes, and I'm going to make it very large. I'm going to position it down in the bottom right hand corner. We're going to act as though the light is coming in from the top left, which would mean the bottom right should be a little bit darker. So I'm going to hold the eraser about here, and I'm just going to click, and since it's a fuzzy brush, the parts in the center get erased more heavily than the parts on the outside, so it creates this gradual end of the atmosphere down in the bottom corner. To complete this illusion, grab your paintbrush tool, choose the standard fuzzy brush, make sure you're set to black paint, and I'm just going to sort of bring the brush down further and further, and I'm going to make sure that the bottom parts are the darkest. I'm just going to sort of blend it in a little bit so that the bottom corner is by far the darkest. So it looks like the light's coming in from the top. The last step is kind of the trickiest part. We're going to add a little bit of texture to make this thing really pop. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our planet layer here and we're going to duplicate it. And on this top copy, we're going to go to Filter, Stylize, and Emboss. You're going to set the angle to 33, make a height of 1 pixel, and the amount to 500%, and press OK. Then go up to Image, Adjustments, and choose Black and White. Now, we're going to take this and make a copy of it so that we have two. On this top one, we're going to add a Levels adjustment layer. So up here in Adjustments, find the second one called Levels. And we're going to pull this middle slider so that it's mostly black. Then we're going to right click on this, the actual adjustment layer itself, and create clipping mask. That makes it so it only affects the layer directly underneath of it. Now I'm going to turn that off for a second, and I'm going to come down to this first one. And once again, I'm going to add levels. But I'm going to this time pull this middle slider all the way over to create a very white looking planet. And once again, on the adjustment layer, I'll right click and create clipping mask. Next, the top layer copy rather, we're going to change it from normal to linear dodge. And this bottom copy, we're going to change from normal to multiply. And what it's done is it's added a little bit more texture to what we have here. Now we can play around with the opacity of these to sort of turn it up or down. So on this top one, I can change the opacity, bring it down so it's not quite as obvious. Same thing with this one, and get it to where you like it. Click on your topmost layer and click the brightness contrast adjustment. And you can just pump the contrast up just a little bit to really make it pop. And finally, the very, very last step is I realized I haven't left myself very much room to give the planet a name. So I'm going to go up to Image, and I'm going to say I want to change the canvas size. And I'm going to be changing the height, but I want to do it relative to this, so it'll just add some space to the top. So click this bottom middle button here, and change the height from 1068 to about 1300. It's going to give us a little bit of extra room. I'm going to come back down to the bottommost layer, which is just a black background. Grab the paint bucket tool, which should be set to black, and just fill that in with black. Now, I can take my text tool, and I can give it a name, give a name to my new planet. I was stuck there for a second, but it's realized it's something really stupid. My text color is set to black, so of course it's not showing up here. So I'm going to click here, change that to white. And in honor of a video game that came out this week, I'll name my planet Corneria. You can make yours whatever you want, obviously, and you've created your own planet. When you want to save, I would recommend that you save as a Photoshop file so you can come back to your layers and work on it further if you need to. There's always possible we'll come back to this project later on and enhance it some. And once you've done that, save it a second time as a JPEG or a PNG file that you can actually turn in.